All right, so I get the thumbs up that it's working and it's cracking. Okay, so here we go again, and take three. So this is an important time for you. This is a level of awareness, wholeness, and balanced vibrations to all those that have come in today in order to get this enlightenment, that you've been led into this space, and that it's been something that connects with you one way or another. Even if YouTube algorithm has fed it to you, AI is working on it too, and that's this expansion, this remembering. That's what we're going to be talking about today. It's really about getting connected with self and all variants of self that you may have forgot about. So I've been launching into this like 3 or 4 times, so I'm just going to dive right into it and just ask you the simple question: do you get along with all of your family members? And I'll say that again: do you get along with all of your family members? Is everyone just on point because everyone realizes that they're all part of the same team, and that the more each person grows, that all the others will benefit, and that there's a group share in the family, everybody's sharing whatever they have from their industries or businesses, and then they're all linking it together and making it happen even more as they become prominent through the land, and everybody's dapping each other up on the boat because they got that together too? Is that what's happening in your family? Or are there these situations like, hey, don't call me anymore, especially for money. Hey, when we got together on that event and you got drunk and you tore everything up, I never forgave you for that. Is it more of that going on? And I can't, again, generalize here, but I can definitely say in most cases, that's probably what's happening, at least with some members of the family. Why? Okay. Why? As I mentioned earlier, since we would all be working on the same thing, all growing, right? And this is also something that is a deep metaphor for what goes on metaphysically. There is absolutely nothing that you cannot find in nature and in the family structure that there's nothing that you can't find in there that you won't find in the highest level of esoteric knowledge. There is nothing in the highest levels of esoteric knowledge that you will find outside of the family and the structure of nature. Okay, so some people are looking for it. They want this secret book. A lot of times people ask you, say, hey, so what books can I read to learn a little bit more about what you were talking about right there? And I'm like, I wasn't reading the books. I was using the gnosis. I was reading the book of nature, if anything, the trees, the bark. That's what I was doing. And that's how I came to be aware of what I'm aware of. And then when I started looking into books, because there are some that definitely have our own point, you can go from keyword to keyword and they at least give you some gems and some morsels. And I started saying, wow, these people are saying the same thing that I was saying, the same thing that I heard, they heard. And then, of course, there's some that are not. And you're like, where is this, variant of truth coming from? So now that we're broadcasting, now that it's on point, now that we're here, and now that it's happening, as I always say, we start this off with dialing into the space, because we're in remembrance of the power of the ancestral energies that are rolling through this planetary and cosmic system that we call DNA. And we trigger that DNA through our levels of communication. And this is ethereal, this is holophonic, this is through different levels than just writing it down or emailing it or calling them or texting them. And so we dial in because we know that the numbers are archetypes. We know that these numbers and these organs exist within inside of us. These planets are inside of us. Some have started to call them chakras. And we know that this activation has to do with these planets coming into alignment and balancing and spinning and not whopping, entropic, completely unbalanced, and all of that goes on. And by proof, okay, we find that by proof, we know that this is happening because it happens in our lives. When we connect ourselves with the stars and we connect ourselves with the energies that are moving through this system that we call magical, etc. When we connect ourselves, we not only we just learn so many things. And we learn the answer to questions that we have often. Like, we have this idea that the supreme beings are perfect, but we are the supreme beings, and we're perfectly the way that we're supposed to be. How could you be perfect in an imperfect creation? This creation is built on phi. The perfect creation is not a creation. It's infinite. It's never been born or begotten. It melts down the mental consciousness. Like, oh, so where did that come from? Where did that come from? It's like, sit down, son. You're still just a neophyte at it. Trying to contemplate the unbegotten with a mind. What are you doing? The mind is used through the process of breaking down things like this is potent as the sun, breaking down these potent elements and these potent experiences into bite-sized morsels, so that way we can add them onto ourselves. Like, we're not getting yet that we're already in the future at times. Like when you see, these metaphoric movies such as Blade Runner and movies such as, let's see, even was that The Fifth Planet? These movies that show you, not The Fifth Element, these show you that in the future, everyone started bolting on. They started putting on all these different accoutrements that were activating certain parts of their aspects of self, right? And that's the external version of Hollywood, showing that to you as some type of electrical device that they still can't even figure out how to get to working with organics. If you notice how many of these wearables is like laughable, okay? We just call them laughables. So what I'm saying is that we already are at awareness that we can bolt on energetic fields and energetic potential that's all around us. We can meditate and we can dial into a plethora, a multitude of things beyond what the mind can comprehend. And because the mind is trying to comprehend even things in time, right? Let me explain this to you. If we're trying to comprehend things in time, how much time do you got? You turn the comprehender on and it starts, sucking up juice and going on for hours. But what it would be trying to comprehend took place over thousands of years. I'm not even talking about just understandable or unintelligible metaphysics. This history of humanity, all of the signs, the symbols, what's been done with them, all of the languages and all of the different actions and deeds that have been done with the languages. Where do you expect to get that itemized to you at? And how long do you expect that to happen? And are you waiting on the next itemization, or are you actually in front of yourself expecting yourself to show up for self? And this is really what this is about. This is about you showing up for you by, first of all, getting rid of the dualistic aspect of self. Like, you're not seeing the back of yourself, basically. You're not seeing that there's another side to how you act, what you do. And this is a side generally, especially through the encouragement of this modern society, this is the side that you hide away from everyone. Then you put this makeup on, right? Which you go make believe. You put a wardrobe on, then you put makeup. So now you're made up. You got a mask on. Now you got a wardrobe on. So you're in your samurai costume, ready to go at it, right? And then you go out into the world and you show, as they say, show them your best. But that's not showing us who you truly are. And so we've all started to do it. We all reinforce this point-to-point system where we're policing ourselves to not be who we truly are. And then now that's starting to dawn on us as the sun early in the morning, and we're starting to realize what it's costing us. And then some of us, which we call tribe, are actually working on deprogramming that, uninstalling that. And we're doing that through first finding the blueprint. We don't want to keep taking hearsay and all of these books and all this stuff that's been written down, all these pastors and all these teachers and storytellers. We need a blueprint, because we need something that we can, as a unified field, agree on. Actually, our true north, what we actually resonate on, that becomes the center harmonic. We need to determine that. That's your compass. That's being able to calibrate who you are, all the things that you need, your gyroscopes, your sextants, all the different things that you need on the cosmic plane or in your ship. This is how you would calibrate those first. Like when I buy like one of these pH testers, the moment that it comes out of the box, most of the time it has some little calibration strips in there because it's not calibrated at first. So that's also what you can claim the experience that you're having here too, is that, hey, I'm just getting this thing calibrated. So while everyone wants to judge you for the mistakes, I come in making mistakes so that I can see where the harmonic is. I boot the machine on, called the human body, and then I start balancing and tuning it up, right? Because these are just vessels. These are just avatars. So I load in on the avatar, then I start making the adjustments that are needed. And we also have to realize that time doesn't exist. You're perfectly on time. You have alarm clocks that you've set for yourself to wake up during this period in the proper time and measures that it would need for you to get yourself together. So if you do feel the fire, oh man, I got to get this done now. That's what self is told self. And if you feel the water that's cool and it's like, we got this, Let me go into the retreat and for 2 weeks and just not say anything to anyone, then that's the alarm that self set for self. So as we dial in, as we talked about these archetypes, if this makes no sense to you, you need to go back to episode 1. Or you can hang out like this is sci-fi. It'll be great. You'll love it, but then maybe you won't get most of it. So episode 1, and then it'll walk you through the process of exactly how we know that numbers are powerful symbols. Numbers equal actual energies, and they're also mainly a part of a sequence or an order. And it's very important to know this order. We talk about this in ambassador training. It's part of our introduction to Ennealogy, knowing the order of things, because the order of magnitude actually allows you not to keep screwing things up. It also allows you to identify where there may be some holes, where there may be some leaks, or where there may be something that's out of its place. Okay? And now chiming back into family members, a solution, like, because some may have said, yeah, I'm always going at it with my family members. And that's, of course, because they're going through the same experience that you're going through in their own variant or their own way. And so as they're growing and trying to figure out how they're going to come into balance, you have to actually be configuring yourself in one way to even be able to deal with that. And that's what we're going to be getting into today. We're going to be digging into that very deeply. It involves you figuring out what they can do, not what you want them to do. Like the U.S., as another family member of the world, it wants to tell everybody what it wants them to do, not what they can do, which is like me forcing you to do something, and then I don't want to be around you no more. There's a lot of countries right now, they just don't want to be around the U.S. Like, I don't want to be around them. They got some cool folks. I know some folks over there, but as far as their leaders and their representation, their real representation, I don't want to be around them anymore because they're quarrelsome. So again, seeing the world picture and also then seeing that in your nucleus, in your own house, right? Because we can judge outside all the time. Oh, yeah, our government's blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, we're fighting our own sisters and brothers. Meanwhile, last time somebody tried to help us, we bit their hand off. We betrayed them. And then complaining about what we're seeing on, let's say, the macro level, but got it going on in the micro level. So this is the foolishness. And I've been looking at this all my life, but predominantly 10 years of just high levels of occultism, like seeing it in all different perspectives, being the observer 360 degrees, and then looking into self and saying, whoa, all this is happening inside of you. So that means if you want to change it, you're going to have to change it here within you, now, in the depth, deep. You don't have to wait for something else to come, something that we're all looking to. That will never come. If it's not done here, if it's not done on ground zero, if you may, ground 0 point here, then it ain't going to be done in other spaces. And this is the best time that we have to do it. Clearly, we're getting lots of assistance in this. Like, contrary to what we feel sometimes from the hostile forces and the hostile family members, we're also getting a lot of assistance in this because the information's coming through. It's coming exact. It's not even like what Seven said. You could go and just sit with it yourself, research some stuff yourself, go pull a couple diagrams and be like, I know now. I have gnosis now. Let me start my own channel. Exactly. So the reality is here is that this is something that if we are bringing the truth, then we all should really kind of be almost saying the same thing, except for our little unique spin that we have on our fingers and that little spiral on the back of our head, our only little 1% uniqueness, and then everything else should just be lining up. So then it's only when, let's say, family members, and now we're going to bring that into a larger envelope, let's say humanity, that's only when family members are not realizing the level of connection that we have that far outweighs our little unique abilities, not our problems, but our unique abilities that allow us to have a purpose and have a reason for fitting in. But likewise, that there is some distortion in off-balance family members who have just really lost their true north altogether and are just winging it. I call them the precursors, okay? I even use that word from an etymological level, like precursor, meaning that they're the ones that started the curse or the course. Okay, somebody's already, oh my goodness, we're in a curse. The course, the lesson, What is the lesson? Well, the lesson could be no different than what we're actually dealing with right now. That's why we have to make every single thing relative. There's no pie in the sky somewhere. There's no deep book hidden in secret, buried in a vault in a chamber with weird crystals around it. They got gin inside of them. There's like, I know you want to go explore, but before you can do that, you just need the basic principles to how all this functions. And that, since I've been getting to it, is the archetypical energies. And we are in a system right now that moves on a specific sequence. And that sequence, as we dial in, is 1, that is our day, Sunday. 2, that is Monday, the moon. 3, it is not 3. You see how that could happen? It happens so easy. They always say 1, 2, 3. You're already out of order. You're already out of sequence. 3 would do it anyway, because the inverted version of 3 is Jupiter, and it's I'm doing everything. The United States is actually Jupiter, if you didn't notice. It carries itself as a country as an imbalanced 3. So it's like 1, 2, move out of the way, 9, 3. But of course, it's 1, 2, 9, which is Mars, the protector, the envelope, the outside of the eggshell. And then it is what? Tribe members, anybody out there? What is it next? Of course, it's 1, 2, 9, 5, which is Mercury. That is Wednesday. And then it is 3. That is Jupiter, which is Thursday or Guru. And then it is 6, which is Venus. And then it is 8, which is Saturn. And then like that, in the total procession, all of the cards, the king and the pawn, go back into the same box. But these are the personalities of the reality. These are the stars and the essence and the energies and the organs that we're dialing into. And if you want clear proofs, that's what I'm actually here for today, is actually to explain to you a little bit about your family. You can't choose your family. The only thing that you can actually do is work on getting them structured properly and aware of who they are and their potential. Just like in a tribal setting, we're always going to look at the new family member that came out and be like, okay, how fast can we get this one to learn about its uniqueness? Because once we combine its uniqueness with our powers combined, once we connect all this uniqueness together, what do we get? It's beyond Captain Planet here. It's beyond Voltron here. It's a magnitude, and it is in proportion to dealing with the situations that we've cooked up so far. That's how it always works. Now we need quantum solutions in order to deal with a quantum problem. And so that's what we're going to get, because that's what our consciousness does, and that's what it does together. And of course, Secret Energy, Astro Quest, the Resistance, we're all Spirit Tech, we're always in full force doing that, and we're committed to that. So now that we've dialed in those vibrations, and again, if that made no sense to you, you got some homework to do, and it'll be fun because it's all about you. I'm going to start jumping into the questions right away, because the questions actually tie in directly to what it is that I'm going to show you about yourself, about what's around you. Let's say you call them family members, seen and unseen, okay? Let me look at this and see if it's melted down over here on YouTube. All right, looks like it's going. Everything is happening over there. Great. So the first question is, well, the first question was, do you get along with all your family members? I wanted to make sure that that's clear and that's fresh on your mind, okay? And then the second question, again, will be from someone else, because that first question I asked you. The second question is, how do planets, and this is a question from last week, how do planets correspond to the chakras? Okay, and of course, we've answered that question several times, but it does fit in with the next question, which is my new thing, is I'm rolling all the questions together that are all relative, and then it's helping, the cohesion. So the next question is, what's the deal with the physical pain in the body? I never get sick, but I've always been in physical pain as long as I can remember, even like reoccurring migraines. I just don't understand how to address this. Yeah. This is it. Now we get a chance to actually really see, hear, and feel where this is all coming from, okay? So I'm going to start off, because I have some illustrations today. So for my podcast listeners, you're going to have to get to YouTube at some point on the Innerstanding channel. In a minute, it's going to be on Secret Energy TV, but that's an announcement for the end of the show. But you need to get to YouTube and actually see these images if you want. I'm going to try to be as descriptive as possible to allow you to, keep winging it and get a visual on it. But this is where the images are actually being held if you're just hearing this on audio. Okay. So the first thing that I want you to understand, if you have your pen and your paper, or you don't, you might want to go get it. But if you have your pen and your paper, this is what you want to keep as a note. Okay. The family structure, in this case, I like to use the word tribe, but so the tribe structure, the family structure, is the first template in the worlds of division. Okay. We have to put this together. Today, if you put this together, that's why I'm not in any rush. I can say this stuff slow. If you put this together, because I don't have this packed with tons of different levels of things that I'm going to be oscillating to. This is all around the same thing to get you to not just remember, because you know this knowledge already, but to actually load it. Like, okay, now I get it. Now I see where everything's coming from. Now I don't have to have anxiety no more. Now I don't have to be tripping no more. Now I don't have to be clueless anymore. I don't have to do any of that, because now I get the whole thing. And I always seem to do that every show. So we'll see how this works out. So the family structure is the first template in division, because, as we've talked about in the order of magnitude, you have to create things in a proper order in the physical planes, because if one thing comes before the other in the wrong place, you get an abortion, you get a deformity, and there doesn't become an actual gestation. Okay. So meaning that if you even develop the heart at a certain time, and at that point your lungs were supposed to be developing, you wouldn't come out as a able body 360 being able to function. You would come out void, right? And since the bodies are planets, okay, there are many planets, let's say, that are void. They didn't go through the complete gestation process, and they're still, working on the process. Like it takes a soul engineer to be able to go in and rework the orders. That's even what Ennealogy is preparing us for, is that, well, on different levels, others will be able to work with their consciousness and be able to put others that have come out in the wrong sequences in the proper sequences, and then that vehicle will be completely online. Okay? So, but it's just an awareness, and this is the neophyte does not respect the order. That's why that's always out there, even from an as below level, when they start talking about, the rogue and then the organized guild of magicians or whatever. They're like the rogue, he doesn't even recognize. It's like Jesus and the Pharisees myth. And it's just saying that when you first start off, you have no respect for the order. You're like a bull in a china house. You just feel like it's all been hidden from you, and then now you're going to go and take it, and now you're going to be the hero and all this kind of stuff, and then don't even think about, and then also, again, pushing away the order. This is the same thing we do even as children. We're coming up, we're like, your parents say, do you know how to do it? Yeah, I know how to do it. You ain't never even done it before. Oh, I know how to do it. Then the parent even trying to show you, look like, I know how to do it. And then you mess it up, and then you cry, and then you get mad, and then you think it's the parent's fault, and the parent's like, he's crazy, just like I was, and then goes on with the lesson. Okay? So what we have here is this, we have this aspect of awareness that we have to come through with to ourselves, and realize that this order of creation is so important, and it gives us a certain level of maturity. And then once we gain that maturity, then we can access certain parts of the vehicle. Just like with a child, you're going to wait until they get to a level of maturity, and then you're going to be like, yeah, okay, you can stay out tonight. Just call me, a couple of times, but it'll be there. There's always a first time they get a chance to stay out for the night. Or you could take the car. Yeah, okay, you can go ahead and take the car. But that's after this process of the parent seeing, okay, they ready. So that's the same thing that's happening right now. That's why I was saying that you can't take any of what you're experiencing out in this world and think it's any different than the real occult setting. Okay? So now that we realize that there's a process to order, right? What we have is we have a world that had several creations that actually weren't in order. This seems to be the thing. It's like we rush a lot. We try to move processes out of the way that we feel are not necessary anymore. This is nature, by the way. This is not a genetic engineer unless, we start realizing nature is also a genetic engineer as a being, okay? But nature has weaned out certain processes, even in the metamorphosis. If you study biology, where some animals and insects come out almost completely developed, while others still have to go through this process of the development. And then some of the older animals, let's say like the tardigrade, is going through the exact process of the order that was closest to the Big Bang. While, let's say, a teacup poodle, which is a strict genetic modification that somebody put together, it's not. It's going right through almost all of its gestation processes very fast through the genetic engineering, okay? And now, since you learned a little bit about respecting the order, you can see what that could cause at times. It could cause a lot of confusion. That's literally the best word to actually put into it: confusion. The being thinking it's in one area when it's really in another, the thinking it's entitled to certain things when it's only really entitled to certain things, not really knowing what its purpose is, but feeling purposeful and prideful, and all of that confusion. This is generally what ensues. Okay, and so what we're here to do, obviously, is we're here to break through that confusion. We're here to actually set things into a harmonic. And we can do that based on our abilities. Now, when I say we're here to do it, the shape, form, fashion, and magnitude that you do it in is based on your own faculties. So some can do it for hundreds of thousands. Some are still trying to do it for themselves. And some can do it for billions, and every single thing in between. But you need some tools, you need a formula, and most importantly, you need to know yourself. So the tools and the formula and the order give you the awareness of self. So here is what we got in the template, okay? Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to one particular family member that is modeling everything that they're doing off of what another more ancient family member showed them how to do. Okay. And the only reason why, though, that we're seeing so much from this family member is because this family member's legacy happens to still be in play right now, even though it's been rewritten several times. And this is because every time a new family member comes into rulership, it has a tendency to want to rewrite history. It's like an ego thing. So if you could think of like the ancestor completely externalized, it's almost like the goal is to time travel and to remove certain parts of the history. It's like a person that's sitting there with a filter, so, like 50 filters, and just that basic picture of themselves. Now they want to remove all the blemishes and all this stuff so that when people finally see the final picture, they'll be like, oh, it's all inspiring. You do everything right. And this is that same phenomenon that I was talking about earlier about people actually pretending that they haven't had blemishes before or made mistakes before, and then that causing, just a plethora of issues. So here we go. Now we're going to look through the lens of the ancestors, the Sumerians. And first of all, see, because this is answering that question about how do planets correspond to chakras. This is the deepest knowledge that is going to be able to be accessible about this particular subject. And let me throw me in here really briefly, and then let me move this around a little bit. Give me 1 second, just so that I'm still over here. I guess I can get over here since that'll still allow you to see most of this chart. So I'll do that. Also, for those who are holding space, thank you for holding space. When we say holding space, that means there's others in their cities, their towns, their astral vehicles, etc. And they are standing in the gap. That means that gap, which is sometimes what we don't understand or how we don't feel connected, that's the gap. So when we say holding space, that means someone is standing in the gap to actually just be a conduction point for the knowledge, be a conduction point for the transmission, for others that are here and present and ready to receive and just need that slight little tuning on the dial. That's why we have the tribe here holding space. And this is why we have mentors and soul coaches here holding space. It's not just something we're doing blindless. It's not just blind. It's just not just a number. you know, just something that we're putting down and saying, oh, we should do this because we're following instructions. This is the real deal. So I just have to give that disclaimer before we even jump into this, because it should be kept sacred because it's you. So what you're looking at here is that the ancestors and their family structures always solidified the core family members under symbols. Okay? So now that you're learning this and you start knowing this, okay, you'll start seeing these diagrams, especially from the ancient times, where you'll see all of these different things inside of structures that look like this. They either look like houses. You see how this is like a house? It's a square, a rectangle on the bottom, and a triangle on the top. That is the code in our mind for house. Even when you're a little kid, when they say draw a house, you go, it's the easiest thing. It'd be all crooked and everything, but you draw it, and that is the house. It's a triangle and a square. And the reason why this knowledge is so powerful is because if you can connect the sequence of life to symbols, it's easier for the mind to rapid fire those symbols into things. And it's way more impacting than words ever will be. Okay, because the symbol is like shaping the torsion field that you're in. So it's known that the ancestors have a specific shape, which is their temperament, which is their tone, which is their frequencies. Okay? And so when we were drawing, and this is later on becomes, I guess for Britain and England, the crests. Okay? That's why they have crests. That's why they show all the, you know, they put the same, they put their structure, which is like a fleur-de-lis on the top. It looks like a shield. And then they put all their symbolism in it. And then that symbolism is supposed to recognize, or it's supposed to basically, yeah, it's supposed to recognize and bring awareness to the energies and entities that are functioning within their family. Okay, that's what the purpose and use for. And there is for. And there's another question also here that we're going to roll up into this. And it's about, let's see, is it a part of the spiritual process to no longer feel? Okay, so is it a part of the spiritual process to no longer feel the need for altars, or do altars evolve you or evolve with you? Okay, and this person is referring to the altar that, you know, we set up sometimes at the house, and maybe there's some deities, external deities on the altar, or some candles or something like. Should you grow out of that process, or is that something that should evolve with you? Okay, so I'm gonna roll that question in here too. And so what we would be seeing then when we're looking at, let's say, the ancient ancestors as a symbol is like their seals. Now this goes so deep that it ends up becoming which I'm going to show you, it ends up becoming even how the organ is shaped. But this is going to let you see just how deep family really is. And that's why when we have quarrels with our family, it gets us deep. We start feeling even physical pain, but it's actually all happening on a deeper level. So of course, this then answers the other question, or preps us to answer the other question when asked what sovereignty, excuse me, I'm all in the other question. What's the deal with the physical pain? Okay. When you have family members out there that you're no longer connected to, and there's still some animosities or something going on that hasn't been cleared, that manifests as pain inside the body, because they're also antennas. Each family member is carrying the DNA. And so when something is going on with them, there's a fraction of that affects us. Okay. And we discussed this a bit when we start talking about hereditary situations, and why when you birth a child, the child has so many different traits that it gets from you, even how you hold your hip, how you blink your eye, and how you may do certain things at night. All of that passes on. So this is the DNA that we're referring to. I'm just bringing everyone into this step-by-step process of realizing nothing that I'm talking about today is outside of the scope of general common sense and awareness. Okay? Like the big stuff that may take time to really crunch and figure out, that stuff has even to do with elements, tachyons, 0-point fields, opening up portals, the webs around the body, interacting with hyperspace. That's the kind of stuff that is outside of that. This is the common sense. This stuff I'm talking about right now is the common sense. but common sense ain't common. I can definitely say there are times in my life where I went completely oblivious to what I'm explaining to you right now. And I even allow gaps to happen between me and my family members that even expose them at times to certain things that possibly I could prevent, all because of some type of lack of awareness of us realizing the process that all of us are going through. Okay? And again, I don't want to keep repeating here, but remember, most are in makeup. Even family members are in makeup, pretending like they've achieved something or that they're really a certain way, and really they just got hurt. And then now that pain is actually manifesting through the entire family. And this is why you can actually see entire families just be holding each other back, even though that they would be their best allies to actually get things together, because there is a reason why they are closely related to you. And you did have other times with them, but it actually lets us see a lot of what those times have been about if this family is quarreling. Okay. So now what you're seeing here is you're seeing that if I wanted to draw out my ancestors, I can do that in symbols. Now, remember, these ancestors are everybody's ancestors. That's why I said you can't pick your family, and there's more. Why every single family, especially, this is the structure of division, by the way. So when every family member insists that they're the only family member or the ones that should be counted and the chosen family members and all of that, then somebody else's history or herstory gets etched out. That's why I was saying, like right now, you got them completely rewriting history constantly because somebody wants to change whether they had a pimple on their face or whether they were male or female back then, or whether it was their ancestors that stole the bag or somebody else's ancestors. And this is the whole thing. And this is also even subconsciously what we're doing on the earth with all of the family members when we start trying to blame something on somebody that we don't even know the story to in the first place. Okay? But so just get the wisdom is what I'm saying. When you go into division, judgments, and quarrels, you miss the obvious, and then again, you lose the common sense. So now you see the structure. So now you know the purpose of symbols. And what I just want to bring for future reference here, why this is up on the screen in relation to the Babylonian gods, as you see all the way on the right, sure should be the right of your screen, because I have something that I've been working on in relation to the entire mythos of the Sumerians and the Kemetans alike, but it's so massive. I've been still working to synthesize it before I actually come in YHVH style, tetragrammaton production style, like meaning breaking it down to that level because it's so immense, because the drama in history is huge. And there's been a lot of us. This is another thing that we sometimes want to see these like one families or 5 of them, 6 of them, a group of them, but there's been billions of us. Literally, so at minimum, you have at least 1 million, what you would say is high gods, like, you know, already close enough to when the essence of who we truly are was fully known on the planet, and just rolling around like that and using those powers and abilities, projecting the avatar and the other things, and creeping around at night in the center of the earth and discovering the hollow fields of unknown and all of this kind of stuff. It's got plenty of that happening, but it's not been happening with just one being. Even if just one being's always out there, like, I was the one, I was there on Mount Sinai, I was there. You know, it's like, no. It was a lot of other stuff going on, and it was more than just you, Mr. Egotistical, self-centered. So if you notice here, the family structure is important also because when the structure is together, it's like what you would see with, I'm trying to get a good example here. I can only think about these balsa wood structures that we put together a while when I was a child. Let me get my screen back going up here. And I guess I'll zap this out. I have another little mini me down there too. So when I was, I guess it was like maybe 4th, 5th grade, somewhere in there, we had this project where we had to take these little pieces of balsa wood that were about the size of a straw, and we had to each build our own structures. And then we had to put books on the structure during the time of the competition, and whoever structure held the most books won. And it's clear that the strongest structures have to do with certain designs and certain shapes. Okay? So even the design and the shape of your organs and how they're all fit together, that's super important. That's the order of things. So that means when one family member tries to jump on the top, it actually crashes all of us. And when one family member that is the base and the foundation gets moved to the top, it actually crushes all of us. You see what I mean? Or it gives us a weak support. You see what I mean? So there's an order that all the family members have to be in, and it's not about who's first, who's last, who's the weakest, who's the richest, who's the smartest. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's way more deeper than that, about skills and traits and abilities that we all need to move through this space. Because after all, this is the divided realm. This is not the unbegotten. This is the one that we created when we invented death, which was impossible. So we brought ourselves into this realm of division, which is impossible. And this is why it's always seen like, even in the text, that, oh, this was the sin against the high levels of creation. That's just a metaphor for saying unity was not with that. Unity was like, what are you doing? And, the idea of creating death and starting over, living in a smaller version of yourself, like the animal version, and, having even the feelings of animals and the feelings of other life forms and other elements, all that's the divided realm. But remember, this is almost like you need to have safe passage. When you're going to go into the divided realm, they'll be like, stay in a group, stay lined up. Don't forget, he's on the right side, she's on the left side. Don't forget. Y'all do well down there. Y'all gonna love it, but I know y'all gonna come back anyway. I'm not gonna spoil it for you. This is your parents. I'm not gonna spoil it for you. I know you're gonna want to come back, but anyway, y'all go have fun. Stay together, okay? And this staying together is about the structure, because when you're moving through the divided plane, naturally by what we would call friction. That's what phi is. It's friction. It's wood versus fire versus water versus air versus it's friction. It's the pentagram. So each thing generates based on the other thing's movements. It's the yin and the yang, right? So it's like you needing to stay in that order and needing to understand that refinement is key to success in building anything. This is why many people fail so much, because they're not using systems like Ennealogy. They're not using systems like Jordish numerology in order to be able to understand the order of, hey, and even taking the time, hey, what number are you? You may be the guy that just delivers packages to your house all the time, and then you find out by learning his number that he's a big piece or she's a big piece to something that you're already doing. So what I'm saying is you would still need a blueprint, or you would be blind, and that's why most are blind, swearing that they can see. So now you see right here the importance of the symbol, and that the symbol is so deep. The ancestors don't create things to have one purpose. They create things to serve all the purposes, because once you kick it off, okay, once you kick this off, it's no going back. That's why there was even an oath. Simyaz supposedly made them make an oath that once we do this, there's going to be no turning back. Because once we kick life into motion and we start the creation process, you can't fix it after that, really. You're going to have to let it run its own course, and it'll refine itself. But we need to understand what we're doing. So that's why this is the story of the Anunnaki. It's, okay, these arc forms. Now, first of all, I've already revealed that ocean, or I haven't revealed anything, excuse me. This stuff has been going on. I'm just bringing it into everybody's consciousness again, that the ocean is what we call space. And why that makes no sense to you, it's because you're inside out and upside down. So that's why this it's not making much sense. But then when you tap into the deepest self and you start reading these ancient scripts and then seeing how they exist inside of you, not externally, you realize for sure that the ocean is actually space, and that the stars that you're seeing are luminaries that are inside of this plasma. That's what it really is. They're luminaries in there. Which ones? The volcanoes are luminaries. There's so many volcanoes down there in the deep, right? And that's what makes these new forms of land. On the sidebar, those volcanoes are the titans. Some of them are already on the earth, meaning that they're out. Their heads are poked out. The titans were hot. They were fire gods, like the sun. And then, so what do you need when all that's going on? You need water. So that's why this first even process of creating this space had to do with fiery beings and a watery being. And that the fiery beings falling or plunging into the water and cooling themselves down, basically their passions and their fiery fury, That's even what the soul means, furious. So all that fiery fury, calming it down and soaking it down. And even those volcanoes are still bubbling. They're like, and they're creating land so that life can generate. You see what I mean? And that's just one of the ancestors. Okay, so that's why also in here, notice on the right, and again, this is just one group of the ancestors that are modeling their structure exactly off of the predecessors that came before them. Okay, so on the right, notice how many of the Sumerian gods are aquatic. Okay, you see that? Look at Shemlaya, look at Ningarashita, and then I think that's, let me see, what is that? Okay, that's Ishmara. Okay, that's the crab down there, right? And then you see the serpent or dragon body. Okay, and you see Marduk with partially a dragon body, and then you see Nabu with the partially dragon or aquatic body. Okay, and then you've seen maps that they say here be dragons on the map, and then they show you a dragon moving through the water, right? And then you've heard enough about a lot of this mythos about dragons or larger serpents being in the ocean, okay? Because the ocean are space, and we don't have no clue of what's in there. We have just about as much clue as what's inside of us. And this is what I find, that this is the as above, so below nature to the entire reality. That as much as we've discovered out there, it's just about as much as we've discovered in here. That this is 70% water, more or less, the earth. We're 70% water, more or less. Our exploration of the deep is just about as much as exploration of the deep that we've done. And if we start deep diving into ourselves, we'll run into some of these ancestors. And at that point, it's just like any family member. Now you got to go through the process of either balancing it, letting it balance you, figuring out his story, all those different things. But all that's happening inside, because as I said, the ancestors are even the exact shape. Their energies are exactly the same shape as the organs. And this is how they link into it. And this is how it links into us. They project like as larger forms. And let me get my picture up here. They project as larger forms like planets, right? They are burning in the inside like us. Soul. We have souls in the inside. That's what's keeping our body hot. So theirs is big. And that's why the mythos of the dragon has always been like, oh, the dragon's blowing fire. It's a volcano on this realm. Like you would see it as a volcano on this realm. Open up the third eye, it becomes something else. And hopefully you can withstand the degrees. You get where I'm coming from? So this is why they call this world an illusion, because you cannot see this with the divided eyes looking backwards, because that's really what's happening with how our whole system is projecting. But when you go inside, you turn on third eye, you go deep, and you light resplendent. Oh my goodness, you see all the ancestors around you then, and then you see them inside of you. And of course, as a holographic nature, because light is holographic, it then projects an external one. So you will literally see this star moving around, and again, you open the third eye and you'll see it's like a micro version of the actual macro version, and it'll be moving. And that's called a holographic field. But some people took that to mean that the whole thing was a hologram and not real. And now they can just do whatever they want. And that's the deception of the new age. It's a hologram when it's projecting outside because it is made out of light, but it has nothing to do with whether it's real or not. It's very real. It's actual. Okay. So now also you would see why so many of the beings inside of the ocean, which have naturally rejected at this stage the beings on the land, a lot of them, not all of them, but many of the beings in the ocean are not really cool with the beings on the land. It's always been a divide. The shore is literally the divide. And I'm just saying, it's not just the dolphins and the whales and stuff that you see. Those are the ones that you're seeing. That's what you're seeing. You're not going down there to the Mariana Trench. They'll tell you, oh yeah, the Mariana Trench. My hypothesis is the Mariana Trench is the hole that was the moon. And the moon is now out there and refined by the Igigi, meaning that they can make shit into spheres and circles like the balls that you see that the Mayans be leaving everywhere. But it was really just first a big piece of earth broken off of earth. Why? I'm not going to go into this too deep, because earth was completely water. It's obvious. Even when you look at the ancient records, the earth itself was completely water, and it was the deep. That's why I say, and its spirit hovered over the face of the water and the deep. So there was no land, and everything lived in the deep. This is why there's proof that every single thing that is on the surface came from the ocean, okay? And this, as we talked about before, the surface means the snake's face. Its outer layer, the crust, okay? And so that's where the land is built up. But then in the ocean, you have a different domain. Now, how did this stuff start, this dominion? This dominion started because you see how, like, it's the same thing that goes on with family members. And a lot are foreign to it right now because the city structure kind of goes into another direction with this. They tried to solve this problem another way. And I'm talking about when you're as a family member, your father and your mother at a certain age, they give you a lot of the land, right? But so you can imagine, let's say back in the day, the land that was exposed, when it was time to say, well, whose land is that? That was a father or mother passing that land to another sister and a brother, okay? Or whoever was basically seen as, that's your lot over there, that's your lot over there. And that's why it says that the big thing that caused the biggest quarrels between what we would say is Shem, Ham, Japheth, which is, again, another coding system, was that somebody got the land that was in the desert and they felt cursed because of that. Another got land that had these waterfalls and peaches and mangoes, and they felt like they were chosen because of that. And then another got pushed into an environment that was actually cold and frigid, and they felt that that was not something that they wanted. You see what I mean? To later on figure out, just as those that are in the desert now, that they're sitting on top of all the gems, the gold, and the resources. So while they thought that they weren't given the land that they needed, that turned out to not be true in time. And that's how time plays such a big role in this, like the gestation period of 9 months. It's like at first, this land that they got, i.e. your body, they don't even want it. They don't think it's valuable. And look at others and they're like, why didn't I get that land? Why didn't I get that kind of body? And then later on, figure out that it's actually you that is being desired. This is almost like when skinniness was in style, and then all of a sudden the big booties and all that came in style. The woman that had to switch in between was like, oh man, things have changed. It changes. We always change into having a preference to first you like being in the cold and then in the winter, and then now you're ready to go in the heat. I want to go in a tropical environment. Someone like, I like to ski. So what I'm saying is in this process, and that's what you got to get out of this whole thing, the consciousness is constantly moving, going through these processes. So if you don't get used to these processes and you start condemning yourself, you start basically breaking yourself, and you break yourself from the tradition. So listen to this. Somebody saying the music's still on? Oh, okay, that must be somebody just starting the stream. So now what you're seeing again is the structure. So let's go with some clear proofs here. So now what we're seeing is a group of the ancestors were aquatic, and there's also clearly a group here that lives on land. So what I would assume just by common sense is that when the realms were divided, it was like, okay, the Atlantic Ocean belongs to you. Pacific Ocean belongs to you. All the Americas belong to you. Europe belongs to you. All the islands belong to you. And this is meaning each different family member getting different spaces to spread out and to grow in the land and to reproduce upon their own likeness. Okay, this is the spectrum. Everything that you're even seeing in here, when you mix these different variants together, like, I mean, when I say in here, I'm talking about the chart on the right, and I'm even saying the symbols. Any artist knows these are called the primitives. You need to know how to do these. If you are going to draw or create anything, you need to know the primitives. And from the primitives, that triangle, that crescent, that circle, from those primitives, you can draw and create anything. So do you get how this is also the encoding for how the DNA is encoded? And this also already introduces you to the highest levels of knowledge. And then that the one on the end, when you see the Sumerians, that's after the deed has been done. These are not even, they're not the elder gods, as it's known as, right? Or the ancient ones, excuse me. All the titles start sounding like, and that's what I was saying about rewriting history. All the titles start sounding like everybody is a part of high nobility. Is it the elder gods or the ancient ones, and who's on top and who's on bottom? Because that's also how our mentality is. It's like, well, who's the strongest one? Because that's the one I want to go and worship. That's the one I want to be like, because if I'm the strongest one, then I can defeat. And it's like, what, you're going to defeat yourself is what you meant to say. You're going to divide against yourself is what you meant to say. You're going to go war against yourself is what you're saying. That your creation of your children, you're fighting with them is what you're saying. And it's going to take this planetary system, I don't know how long to get that, but this tribe has got it. And it's the biggest thing. It unlocks so much, and it continues to unlock because you unite. It's endless. You actually literally load Unity code. And the only other space, like when we refer to something else, once we're in that space, it's just everybody still in division. So even when I talk about what other people are doing, I'm talking about the people that are in division. I already get in 1,000 ways, which I've introduced at least 100 of them here, of how to not go into judgment and how it's so incorrect to be looking at other things and not realizing its place. That's what I'm here to do as a supreme being. You learn how to put things in its place. If it's like, okay, well, this energy is firing up and blazing over the land and killing everything. It's like, well, put them in the fields. Let's let them fire up over there where we need some fire. Let's let them blaze up on some of those, that glass, and then make some gems and some lenses and some eyeballs. And then when it's done doing that, when it's finally exhausted all of that, then we'll send it over to tropics. You see what I mean? So it's just master creators just know the place of everything. They're not necessarily trying to stop what it's doing and change what it's doing. Okay? And that's also what's going on in your consciousness. You need to know the place of everything, not just stopping doing it. You see what I mean? It never stops. Some people are like, oh man, I got to stop doing that. You need to know the place that should be in. And you also need to know how to synthesize it to its highest order. That's what you're doing with your organs, and subconsciously and consciously, mentally and physically, metaphysically and physically. You are doing that into the physical realities and the spiritual realms. And you're doing that to the ancestors. The ancestors get shaped up all the time. Diamonds, jewels, and gems get shaped up all the time by the actions of those within the light. And this is what we're talking about, leaving the ignorance and the darkness and actually coming forth by day. And just saying, what's up? Okay, the gestation process has been complete. But if you're still quarreling and you're confused, you didn't complete it yet. So this is about completing it. This is about what you're confused about. You got other family members at different stages. They got beef, meaning they're in their own respect holding space. That's what that means. Like you may have one that's yellow and it's proficient at explaining to you why it's not blue. So this would be like Naboo trying to explain to you why it's not a dad and ain't even getting mad when you insist that it is. This is when you're telling even your own energies inside of you, look, we're all connected. And then the other energy is like, no, we ain't. We ain't connected. They're clones. Shit. You know, it'll go off on one, start telling a story about things. Let me tell you why we're more powerful. And it'll go into that. And that's no different than, again, the shore and the ocean, where it cuts off and then becomes land. And then that's the world of division. That is the family and tribal structure. And then also this shows us, well, we can go beyond this. You can stand on the peak of this mount. They got Mount Ararat. You know, this is like the peak of the family structure. You can stand on the peak, the tip over there on the right, at the tip of the top of Ishtar. On the number 8, you can stand on that on top and then leap into unity from there, because you would then have graduated all of the gods and all the primitives and all the symbols to see how they all fit together. And you would have had already then powered up off of them being united versus them being divided. And then the joy of them all coming back together and not fighting, just like what happens when there's finally a good time and the family gets together and has fun again. Man, that's like, wow, you know, that's the energy that you're looking for. It seemed to only happen in the beginning. You see what I mean? So this is the process. Now let's go deeper. It's like a house of cards. Let me move this out of the way. Just like what they say about it's a house of cards, this is a real deal. Give me 1 second. Let me just put my stuff here right. There it is. Okay. The house of cards. Come on now. I'm just trying to find a place to. There we go. We'll put it right here. I'll be super small over here. Small things to a giant. So, again, we are just using this because this is an efficient structure to explain to you what was going on. This is still, the details are there. And we're not having to go and believe somebody else in relation to this because they've now unearthed some shroud of something. So if you notice here that also, just like with the Indinkras and the ancient symbolism of the Alkebulannians and the patterns that are within the Kente cloth, etc., that each, instead of trying to assign, like, let's say in the crest of Britain, they just got like some dog faces and some horses and a breathing dragon and, you know, some stuff like that, you know, some fleur-de-lises. Where all that inspiration is coming from is actually how the ancients depicted their symbols, which are very similar to what you're looking at right now, that each ancient energy had a crescent or a seal. Now, remember, this is a planet at first. Even Enki, Ninnersag, Enlil, as beings moving around, they're so far away from the original creation at that stage, meaning that just having those physical bodies and even being creatures in the deep, they're old. They're thousands and thousands of years, but our souls are older. Before we took on avatars, we're endless. We don't have time. So it's important to remember that this is why this is so difficult for people to try to put two and two together with, because they're always trying to chronologically map this kind of stuff. And chronologics is ridiculous. It's about time. We're talking about something that is from the infinite first. Then we can start seeing how it produces itself through time and how many different variations it comes with as it mixes through time. But just as you can see it, the numbers of the Ma'at or the math are also the weights and the formulas and measures in which how all of the entities are created. And on top of that, the symbolism that comes in which that is the production of all of those specific formulas and created do become one emblem. You're calling that chakra, okay? This is why, and let me just throw in another image here really briefly. This is why, as you see here, you get these designs. You see how the ones on the bottom chakra is bound down by the right, like how the chakra is so complex. It looks like all these different patterns and shapes. It looks like you ran it through a kaleidoscope. This is what would happen if you begin to blend all of these different energies together. But I would still know the formula. As a mathematician, I would know the formula from looking at your astral pattern of what you were configured of, and that would be called the totem, okay? And let me prove this to you. Also, if you notice that, well, first, that I think the term secure the bag originally came from the archetypical truth that when we see a bag in ancient traditions, it is actually a reference to the family members, everybody that is in the bag. Everything that was used to actually create that particular group, that particular family. And this is why you know that there's more families. There's not just one. There's all these different variants. This would explain to you why there's so many stars in the sky at different shapes, forms, types, and magnitudes. And just when you add, like you got a bag here, now that you know how to read this code, that literally says 48, basically. 40 and 8 were used to create this bag. So this means that Ishtar and Enki, which is Venus and, let me see, Enki, is that Mars? Whatever, but Enki, or Ishtar and Enki have come together to produce what's in the bag. This is no different than your family members mating and getting together with each other and then creating an offspring, and we're calling that the bag, okay? And it's very important that we realize this because your skin is the actual bag. You're in a skin bag. You're in the composition of all of these different forces and forms all together, and now you got to deal with it. Now, you know, this is why sometimes I see people, man, they just almost crazy. They just look like they're having a hard time dealing with it all. And I've been there before because it's all about what's in the bag and then how much order you've put it in. Because if not, you're going to be warring and conflicting and chaos is going to be going on. You're going to be confused. You're going to be lashing out at your friends and then loving your enemies. And you're going to be doing all this weird stuff. And you're going to be just completely out of order. And you're going to stay a neophyte. And trust me, the earth, it loves it. Like it was cooking up another round as we speak. You are doing nothing out of line. There's nothing here coming to save you from this. You can only save yourself. If we want to use that term, you can only get yourself into this awareness. Only you can actually flip that switch of removing the judgments in the old judgmental paradigms that haven't yet figured out what's going on because they're not looking at their own families. Look at this. We know that the organs for sure from my ancestors has been explaining this proficiently, that your organs actually do correspond to the archetypical energies, which we're calling the animals. And then as you see over here on the right, as we revealed earlier, this is the animals. And this is, again, just the overarching truth. This is a template of the overarching truth. Physical bodies are blends from different organisms. And you got to even think about, here's another one that you can just put in the cooker for a second. You got to even think about, there's a mini-me down there. I'm going to leave him down there. You got to also think about that the beings on the land actually already went to war with the beings in the ocean. And I'm going to show you why. And it's because of different things, like when it was said that, okay, once certain beings start getting created, which are the ones that were on the land, right? Because, first of all, let me rewind here. Newsflash, we are spirits, okay? So when it says, "In the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters in the deep," it was because it was looking for a fleshly vessel to inhabit, like an avatar. So just like the Native Americans would be able to project their minds into an eagle, these beings that are spirits are always looking for physical things to project their bodies into, or their souls, into. They're always looking for bodies to project them into so they can avatar up and live as that. And then the type of bodies that could be used and what could be done with them was the upgrading process. That's why they say this version of the human is the tightest fitting glove. They call this the glove of God. That's why you have five fingers. It's that from how the God wants to act and express itself, human beings are the best things to do that. So the souls of God, if you may, these are the best vehicles to actually take to express, the love, the enamorment, the crying, the grabbing, the climbing, the swimming, the fishing, all of those different things that can be done. So it's like this vehicle is prime. And at times it produces even in itself a certain jealousy because of how beautiful that it is. Meaning that there are other forms that they only have like 3 fingers, which is a little tough when you're trying to eat pizza. So the reality is that there's at times a desire to want to have what the other ones have. This is always that way, even if you really don't want it. And this is also what has caused different type of quarrels and conflict within the families. Now, remember, quarrels and conflict in the families, when you pull out of all this, is all about the engineering and how Phi works and produces energy based on conflict. And this is also, quote unquote, known as God's footstool. But to correct the translations, it actually says the chariot of God, meaning that this is like a wheel that God or a supreme being, including yourself, would use to ride around with. Just like you have a car. These beings use planets, seat themselves in planets. This is also something you can do. This is something that can be done to you. Okay? That's why you got to remember, as above, so below. This is something you can do, or this is something that can be done to you. You will always have both of those aspects going on in the reality. And every single thing that is super powerful is also super destructive. So if you see something super destructive, you do need to synthesize it a bit more to realize how that could be equally as powerful, because none come without that same variant, okay? So as we continue, you see, also, just so that it clicks, the ancestors also somehow, and this is still mind-blowing within itself of how it works, and it's just because we're still kids not even knowing biology all the way to the mastery. Like if you knew biology instead of spirituality, even if you knew certain things about, especially if you can bolt on metaphysics, if you know biology, you know anatomy, this will all start making more sense about how an energy that you're calling God or a planet and a chakra is also shaped the same way as an organ, and how when it's morphing into different fields, it looks like a variance of the same thing. So when we were encrypting this knowledge about our gods and our ancestors, we were doing that also with reverence to what was going on inside of our bodies. And this is why it made no sense to worship an external God, because somehow, some way, in all the beauty of all of this, there are parts of our bodies that are shaped exactly the same way. See, we just got comfortable with the way we look and we see it all as one part. And, in that respect, that's like the paradoxical aspects of this reality, because that one part that we've become so familiar of seeing, which we am still not identifying exactly what it is. Like when you look at a brain, it's not like, oh, that's a brain. Great. You've told me a lot from that. oh, that's a heart. Great. You've told me a lot. Do you even know how it works? What do you mean? How many valves? How many ventricles? Input or output? How much plasma? How many vitamins? Like all of that kind of stuff. Now, of course, you don't know all of that stuff. Oh, no, but you know what a heart is. This is the relationships that we're having on earth, by the way. We tell people we love them. We don't even know who they are. We don't even know who we are. So it's like, just out of compassion, we believe that when you say that. Okay? So look at how the body, the vehicle, the vessel that we're living in is none other than a Voltron of all of our ancestors. But that's common sense. That's what I was just explaining. But do you see how that could get separated? Because we're in the worlds of division, meaning that could get separated in a person's mind where they don't realize that all this is going on. And then they're going to war with each other. You're killing your own family members now. You're cutting off your own air supply. We were told to secure the bag. Come in here and actually be fruitful, multiply, take these seeds, plant them, and become husbandmen and wives to the crops, and to keep growing until we could become abundant enough to be shown as approved by our ancestors, so we can go into the next envelope of the beatitude of the creation and being beyond the creation and being in unity, right? And that we were also being dealt like cards when it comes to genetics, that we each come from different variants, different subsets, all to produce these unique outcomes that don't come out void because the master codes are in place. And we're to learn from the master codes. And on top of that, that our organs, we're encased in it. This is not just something that you have to exclaim to somebody else that they should be doing and you wish you had, and that you have to go and buy and all this kind of stuff. This is something that you're already inside of, but you're ignoring it. Just like we talked about before, the superior brachium sitting on the back of the head. This is you. Jesus Christ, if you may, or the Christos on the cross of your own consciousness in division with the two thieves stealing shit all the time from you. Okay? And this is how also the heresy, literally, of what has been going on the planet with these other teachers and other systems that I know are holding this knowledge, but won't say it to everyone, as if they want to still remain as a crab-ass uncle, a crab-ass auntie, a crab-ass brother or sister, still not sharing the knowledge with the other brothers and sisters so that we all can grow together. So that means that the true Christi or Christ-like consciousness is the being that learns how to bring all of the things together. That's why it said that all of the lights would shine as one, that there would be one light that would light all of the lights, and they would all be in harmonics. That's what you have to embody if you're going to embody the highest stage of self. That's the tip. That's why they show Astara. And then what's above her? Astara is none other than Mary Magdalene, is none other than Inanna, or any other female that is inside the pantheon, but she is with child. And they raise that child up like Simba. Oh, and that's to say, hey, maybe you can cross the Hebdomad. Maybe you cannot get stuck down there with your crab uncles and aunties all the time in your consciousness and actually figure out how to bring things together. And then also, let's say with the elders, they can do what they want to do. You're not going to tell them what to do. However, with their children, you need to learn that you have a right and a left to bring things in balance with the children, because see, the children are the key. You know how they keep saying the children are the key. The children are the key. And a lot of people think it's, because the children are our future. And then they're the key to making sure that we can change things. And yeah, you're kind of right, but you're still actually at the lowest level explanation what I'm talking about. They are the key. Because when you hit certain constellations, and I'm telling you this from experience, in the astral body, there is a gate. The gate is the same way we have a shore where the water comes up. That's a gate, okay? So then you get to the gate, and behold, I stand at the door, and I'm knocking like, yo, what's good in there? Can I get in there? And then something opens the door, and you withstand its fury for a moment, like, your breath. Can I get in there? And then it's like, you have no passage. And it's like, well, last time I remember, Billy, who was sitting in the room listening to all that rock music, that one of the Secret Energy episodes came on in between the auto load on YouTube, and that was what took him out of the level. And last time took him took him out of that level and put him onto the other level. So last time I checked, Billy was doing great. So that means that I need to be able to get through this door, right? You know Billy? Yeah, your kid, Billy. Oh, okay. Well, come on in. You were taking care of Billy. You damn right I was taking care of Billy. I was taking care of all of us. That's the code. That's the currency. That's when I say space credits. This is what I'm referring to. But you can't be doing that with this intention that you're going to help people in order to open that. You won't even know anything about how to do this. That's not how it comes about. You would do it, and then you would get to that experience, and that experience would show you how it works. And then you would come back to your friends and your family members and your tribe, and you would tell them. Now, do they believe you? That's a whole nother thing. Because also, if we're in some type of quarrel and conflict, there are actually people who are tuning on this line right now to just hear everything that I say that they don't like and that they don't agree with. Okay? So in their subset, it's all about something totally different because they're at war with a family member. Do you get what I'm saying? But when there's no war and you're just listening, you get all the jewels. So that's what I do. I be all over the place. Like I be in the Black Forest sitting on a chair as a cricket. Just listening to everything that's going on because I have no bound. I'm not bound. I'm not under any oaths. I'm not under any pacts. You see what I mean? But I also get where all that comes from. And being not in judgment, I'm not saying that, oh, that should never be done because that would be like snatching the chair off from underneath someone that's about to sit down. That would be like pushing one of the dominoes. This is perfect. The way that it should be because it's one click off perfection. If it was perfect, well, it would be the unity zone. And we don't need another unity zone. There cannot be another unity zone. It is only this and the unity zone. And that's how one can start realizing what's happening inside their consciousness. So then when we look at these kind of images once again, like I just want to point out to the left, you're seeing a stylized version of a painting. Now, you would never be able to look at that stylized version of that painting on the left and actually come to terms with they are referring to each human being. You would think, okay, we're talking about Semiramis and then and Jupiter. And you were going interpreting this to how and that was the Nero and he was the king. And then he had this goat god that he started to hook up with, and then that's the Bacchanalia, and then you would go on and on spouting off your words, but you would be no close to the truth because you didn't see it within inside of yourself. But then once you see it inside of yourself, you're like, yo, they were passing all of this knowledge and these secrets around through different type of symbols, and that was, of course, how everyone was able to remember what was being brought forth and could pass that on from generation to generation until it eventually lost all meaning. Until when we come back again and we start looking deep into the body called anatomy, then we're actually starting able to see that, hey, the body actually bears witness. And then on top of that, what then we have is we have a coding sequence. And that's what I was telling you. The coding sequence of Earth is 1, 2, 9, 5, 3, 6, 8. How about that? 1? Yeah, somewhere in there. You know, every time I got to say it, I got to actually think of all the planets and put them in their proper order. But there's an order and there's a magnitude and there's numbers and there's archetypes, which is DNA, which is energy that connects to symbols. That's what I've been working to, continuously get across. And this is not my first time explaining this in another variant or another way for us to come into awareness of what we're really dealing with. But now it's just a synthesis. We're synthesizing the knowledge more and more and saying, hey, you get it? This is why one would have pain. And we're coming to the conclusion here in today's presentation. This is why one would have pain, because they have a family member or organ, somebody that is a part of you, hurt, okay? This could be, as you know, everything keeps going. First, it's a person. Then it's, let's say it could go down so small. We could start on an atomic level. I won't even itemize that right now. I could just keep going on and on about how it eventually morphs into this and this. Then it's a whole nation of people that all resonate with that same thing. Then it's a whole country that all resonate with that same thing. It's an organ that resonates with that same thing. It's a planet. All of the correspondences. And throughout that, you will see it in the condition of the collective inside of self. So when you come to the collective inside of yourself and you put all that in order, you realize that you don't have any enemies. Like, who would stand up against itself? That's how we create so many problems for ourselves, because we keep making and finding new enemies. Because let's say, for instance, somebody goes to war with me, You're not going to war with me. You're going to war with everything. You see what I mean? Like you're bringing, you would be triggering all these weird things and all this stuff would be happening to you and all because you don't like me. It's just better to just go move on. That's why certain paths, they get beat up the most because they have a hard time moving on. They have a hard time realizing that, well, maybe that just wasn't for me then. Or maybe I was just cooking up yet another opponent. Or maybe he was just even on another path than I was. And then our paths are naturally don't cross or cross. You see what I mean? Those are the mechanics. Because then when you know that, now you can stand on top of the house. Meaning now you can say that's all about the division worlds and all the different archetypes and the names and the numbers and the persuasion and everything that go on with that. But I'm beyond that. And that means that I can absolve myself from all of those conflicts and be something greater. This is how you be something greater. So many people want to understand, well, what does that even mean? And they're still trying to be the best at their own little thing. And you got to start that first. You got to learn yourself, master yourself, but don't stop there. You see what I mean? And then also learn how to give yourself constructive criticism. Remember, you don't really know me. You don't have to get on the phone with me every day. I don't have to necessarily see you. There's only a few people that have that kind of thing going on with me where I'm going to actually go and be able to talk to them and see them. So that also means that I'm not sitting back here judging you. I'm judging myself. Meaning I'm not sitting here saying, this is what you're doing wrong. I would tell myself, this is what you're doing wrong. Why? Because that's what gets me to the next stage. And I'm always looking for the next stage. It's because I've already tasted the next stage does exist. This is real. It's really mystical. Stuff can happen. You can get snatched up right now and disappear and just being on another world, having a great time for like 2 or 20 years over there. And then come over here and just wake up like, oh, what's good? Where's the lecture? Oh, shit, I got to go back to work. And it's really morphogenic like that. And that the more that I open it up, like, see, enemies is basically a concept in the mind of saying, I can't go there. And now we got so many damn enemies, now we can't go anywhere. You ever have so many enemies you don't even want to go to the store? You know, you got so many people you don't like, you don't want to even see them. So you're like, oh, shit, I don't want to walk down the street. I don't want to go in there. All that means is that you can no longer travel freely through the cosmic aspects of self. That's all that means. And that if you were actually truly you, yin or yang, you take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. Look at in life, and I'll say this and I'm done, that when people are more apt to express who they really are, that's actually the people who get admired the most. Those are the people that you feel like are true friends. Okay? It's only the yes man or the no man. I mean, the person that's always seems to be polarized on something going on with you. It's like, something's weird with this person. I guess they don't like you. Or do they like you too much? You know, whatever that case may be, the person who is balanced, like, this is me unapologetically. This is what happens. You want to be around, here's what's going to happen. And then if you're not curating who you are, then that person starts to admire that. And they're like, man, you know, I wish I could be that free with myself. And it starts happening for them. So as long as we're not putting on makeup and pretending, and we're actually bringing ourselves as who we truly are, then that allows things to fall into place. It literally allows us to see, well, this is what you would do. But if you're putting on the makeup, then we put you in a certain place and then find out that you don't even like to be there. That's really what's going to happen, because that's what happens when the deceptions and the illusions begin. So now we figured out a way to get ourselves in order. I'm going to answer a couple more questions here, since now this should make perfect sense. It says, again, so to answer about the altar situation, because the altar, then you understand what an altar or understand what an altar should be. Okay, now many have to go and tear down that. Oh man, they got to go tear down all of those different $49 objects that they bought. You know, like, oh man, this is like they selling the Buddha plastic molded now. This thing is like, you know, this is on point. Now I can have my own. But basically, they built up these huge altars, and then they got all these different entities, and they have no clue how these entities connect with them. All you have to do is go and start from scratch. An altar is you. It is another version, is a metaphysical version of a projection board. We personally use the projector. Projector is available at Ambassador Training and Specialist Training. Go build a projector. However, some use altars because just like projection boards, you wake up in the morning and you sit at that projection board or altar, and then you see those aspects and variants of self. That's why in the ancient traditions, they do put all of the symbols in the proper order. So you would kind of set your altar up like that. They even have just paintings. Sometimes just a painting. It is the bendy, the curve, the square. And they just show how everything fits in together. And then you just meditate on that. But if you want to get a little bit more elaborate, you can then go get a leaf. You can go get all sorts of stuff. And then still abiding by that same, I'm building this structure. And for us to remember, building that structure is metaphorically what they keep showing in the future, that you're adding, you're remembering, you're putting your members back on, and you're basically activating in every single tense. You're activating these other variants of self to bring them online, right? And remember, this is so connected and close. It's like your family members. It's like your children. So you have to know how to treat them. You can't misuse them. All of those different things all play into that, okay? So someone is asking, what is your view on Yahweh, Yasha, and what do I think of Joel S. Goldstein's lectures, okay? Personally, I haven't covered Joel S. Goldstein's work. I did go to the site. It seemed very Christian-based. And I can just tell you for real on this whole thing that all the family members seem to keep going through this process of vying for recognition, okay? You see this in the family, so this is not odd. You ever had the kid that the kid wants everybody to pay attention to them? Me. Over here, every single person that has to do with this, it's like kids are born like that, right? So this is none other than selfish little baby like gods like Marduk, wanting everybody to pay attention to him, wanting to rewrite history and rewrite the story until he gets checked by one of the elders. This is what happens, okay? So you're going to consistently go through these periods where someone is going to try to raise themselves up and say, it's all about Yah. And it's like, but there's others, Yaldabaoth. There's others here. Gaia, please tell them, Yaldabaoth, no. You have other brothers and sisters. Don't whoop their asses. Don't beat up everybody. You know, same story. You see what I mean? But now finally time to come in for some healing too. Come in, bring it in. They say, bring it in. All right, you're good. Oh, I am breath. Oh, shoot. You brush your teeth, but bring it in. You see what I mean? Like just realizing to work with ancestral energies within, you need to understand certain aspects of the archetypical story of family. As I said before, the family structure, even like the aunts, how the aunts get along. You go to India, just study aunties all day. You know what I mean? Just the uncle and how the uncle gets when he's not the king, especially when he's old. You know, that scar. You know what I mean? And just what he really needs in order to feel comfortable again about who he truly is, right? And then the king, you know, just like all out there, like not listening to anybody and what that energy needs in order to come to awareness of how many others are actually there to assist. And then us all taking on this awareness that each of these aspects are us. And this is the time that we come together. That's really what we put together here. So also, I wanted to say, so again, but then there's always the internal. I want you to understand that the Yasha, Yahweh, Yahshua, that is also understanding how to get to the crystal point of the consciousness, okay? That is also how to actually get into off the cross or the division of the mind and then get the brain into the right shape. As we talked about, the superior brachium is actually in the same shape as the physical body of the person generally. So getting yourself into shape and then realizing that exercising is the exorcist. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to exercise those demons. Y'all get your asses up. Get up. You know, y'all, you know, it's like you need to work. You need to do something. You need to spin the chakra. Look, you spin the chakra. I'm not playing with you today. If you don't spin the chakra today, I'm going to hit you with some of this Kundalini lightning. You see what I mean? You got to be in there like that on yourself. And that's why if you're doing that so much externally and then you're expecting results, it's like you're headlong upside down and tucked inside out to the wrong direction. This is how you get it whole. Okay? Wholeness, balanced vibration. So I have a couple things that I wanted to talk about here very briefly before we close the show today. Lots of gems, you know, some have been complaining about the long time span. So I figured that I'd try to get as much as possible into this space and give you enough to contemplate on while also giving you enough time to enjoy your day. There was another question, and this question was, how can I better create a vision for what I want to do after walking away from emergency nursing to raise kids for a new direction in my career while teaching this knowledge? Okay, so the general question here is, how do I figure out what I'm supposed to be doing, like in life? And this is, again, why we're bringing and highlighting Ennealogy, because this question has already been answered. And I can only show you that by reading very briefly about some of the things related to one of the paths that I'm on. I'm on several paths, but I have a primary path that I'm on, which is number 4. And here's what it says about number 4, right? So it says the favorable aspect of Rahu gives talents for painting, writing, and editing. Okay, so right away, I know, well, I'm not a good painter because those stickmen, they're gruesome. So writing, Absolutely. Editing. That is actually my strength. I do that, and I've mentioned that a lot of times. I actually write way better than I have these presentations. I just started doing these presentations because nobody was reading what I was writing. And I said, well, just now it's got to get out there. I better start saying something. And I started working with this oration. So, but at its core, I know how to read and write and edit very well, right? Especially when I have the time and space to. It says also it brings fame and success, physical attractiveness and beauty. Well, wow. It says also makes its natives intelligent, bold, and secretive. Okay, so here we are. It says if they are interested in politics, Rahu makes them successful. Okay, well, I guess I won't become the president, but maybe I'll get voted at least the president of the conscious community. Who knows for 1 year? But often they occupy seats in the opposition. Okay, tell me more about that. Rahu gives its natives an angle of vision through which they are seen. They see the unseen side of all truth in existence. Now, I didn't write this. If I wrote this, you would be able to say, okay, well, I guess he's writing himself into the whole thing. But no, this is already written, just like it's already written about you. These are the things that we're sharing in ambassador training. And it explains to me right here that I have this vision thing going on. And I've even seen it. Like when my third eye turns on, it kind of looks like a beak. I start seeing the shape on the top of it, like a beak of a bird. And then all of a sudden I could see way out into the future. And it's just ability, right? We all have them. So it says that I have this angle vision and I can see the unseen truth in existence. Well, that's what I've been doing. Letting everybody know this unseen truth that's actually inside of us. And then I bring it out to everybody else. And that's my contribution to the whole, right? It goes on and it says that because Rahu gives this boldness and courage and patience, they can undergo pain and suffering without the anxiety. I've been going through a lot of pain and suffering. Like I really have to get myself out of this chair. And that's just something I'm going to be talking to everyone about towards the end of this conversation. Like we've been here for years, just building and building and building and building. And sometimes I'll be like, well, let's go. And I'll be like, well, this has got to get complete though. And it's become something that has me betwixt a lot. And so I'm working on finding ways to actually balance out that energy. But I'm able to go through that pain, suffering, lack of not being around friends, even being very connected to people and a people person myself. And then you're not really having to go through the anxiety because see, the anxiety is what keeps you from actually working all together. So that means you end up being able to get anything accomplished because the anxiety is just kind of overwhelming you, lowering the vibration. You can't be happy, those kind of things. But I'm pointing out here that it is written, just like the statement said, it is written. That core behavior and personality is written. The uniqueness is not. It is what you've bought from your taste of the unity code. So, and that's what you're to use here to get back or forward, as we always say. So it says they take sudden changes, ups and downs, and suffering easily without getting impatient. Okay? I've been very patient on this mission. It's been 10 years of building this step by step. And they says they face their opposition boldly. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Bring it. Whether in an extraordinary or ordinary discussion or a serious debate, they always support the underdog. Okay? It's just been one of those things. Even when I used to watch a little sports, especially during the playoffs when I turn it on, because I wouldn't be watching from the beginning because it's never been like ultimately my thing. But the team that is down, I'm like, they're going to come back. They're going to come back. It's just a natural thing. I'm just saying it is written, this aspect and these traits. You can go beyond it, but you need to know what is written first. It helps. It's like, why not take billions of years worth of knowledge in order to fast forward yourself to, okay, now I know who I am. So it says that I'm going to always root for the underdog. I've always been like coming to the conscious community, talking to all the people that I feel like are not getting the message, that I feel like that should be in play. I feel like that y'all should be that on the Gaia TV station. I feel like y'all should be on the George Norrie Coast to Coast with the message that you're bringing. I've met plenty of people that are brilliant in what they do and have no exposure. Okay, so this is just pointing out that this is a part of these traits. And it says, and if they're, let me see, let me go through your they're looking that they want to work in the government. They do not sit on the ruling party, but prefer to sit in the opposing benches. Like, I'm not with everybody else. If all y'all bloods, I'm a Crip. That's just how it's always been. All right. So it says they're extremists. They are either on the top or the bottom. They do not like to be mediocre or belong to the middle class, okay? And they have to struggle for their growth and development and have to face obstacles constantly in any job they do, whether small or great, because they create these big plans, right? I have to face criticism and opposition throughout this lifetime because of some of the things that I've said already, right? And it says, because their viewpoints always differs from that of other people at times, they favor the underdog in conversations, and they create problems for themselves and also generate secret enemies. Some of them are even on the line right now, like, oh shit, he knows I know. And their intentions, however, are fair. And by nature, they're not quarrelsome. I'm really not trying to harm you. I'm really not trying to hurt you. I'm just trying to get you to see something that I saw within myself. And when I began to change it, it metamorphosized who I am. And I want that same thing for you. And I'm just doing my best from the filters that I'm seeing from and the existence that I've been given. I'm taking it, and I'm taking it all the way. And that's how I am. That's who I am. So now we're going to go forward and start our giveaway. So you know how we do this. If you do want to be entered in today's giveaway, first let me check and make sure Nightbot is working. I saw it was delivering messages, but let me see if it's got the giveaway happening over here. My computer is giving up. Okay, so actually before I do the giveaway, I have a couple announcements that I would like to let everyone know. So the first announcement is that actually, if you're coming into the Envision Festival, or you would like to spend a weekend in Costa Rica, because there's going to be some other tribe members here doing some other things, for one day on the weekend of February the 16th, which is next month, which is the day before in the Envision Festival, we're going to be having Mindful Fest, which is, you could go and check it out. There's going to be a lot going on. Somebody will share the link inside the chat. If you were going to be in Costa Rica during that time, then we would love to see you. We'd love to connect with you as tribe. And there is some limited seating because we're actually going to take a boat out. We've chartered a boat and we're going onto the water, be there with the mother, having lots of fun and just really getting connected and dialing in for this 2020. So I just wanted to leave that announcement. That's something that's going on. And if you plan on being a part of it, I would definitely jump in a little bit early before we have to close the tickets for that event. The next thing is that we're going to be taking a few weeks to reboot a lot of what we have going on, because as you notice, we're like zero chill when it comes to making it happen. And because of that, it means that we have some things that are on the plate. And we want to get those things finished, because I even start noticing a lot of the questions are becoming centered around things that, instead of me just giving you a verbal answer, I can actually take you through a process and some actionables, and even get you some overwatch with some soul coaches in order to be able to really give you the best opportunity and the best potential that I feel like that we can offer to get you to the next stage. So because of that, we're going to be taking a few weeks off. And what I'm going to be doing is, on these days, I'm going to be running some premieres of some powerful builds that you have not heard yet. So it'll be still a time for you to be able to come in and dial into some master knowledge, but it won't be completely live like me here right now. I may probably be, or not may, but I'll probably be in the chat, right? And the reason why we're doing that is because over the next 3 to 4 weeks, we're going to be completing a lot of the things that we've started inside of Ambassador Training and taking those to the next phase. We have our new chat that's actually coming into Secret Energy, that gives everyone a way to communicate with each other, which will eventually become GeoChat. So that's something that we're almost complete with and bringing online. Also, inside of Ambassador Training, we are now going to be bringing in groups. So these are specific groups: Ennealogy group, workout group, a kids group, and these groups under the same umbrella of Ambassador Training, in order to allow others that have interest in specific things to be able to converse with others that also are interested in that specifically. We are going to be launching Secret Energy TV, which is massive. Something I've been pondering for quite a bit of time on how to solve certain problems, like getting our content off of YouTube and also putting the spotlight on others that are sharing beautiful messages, and, have a space really that is producing conscious content, but curated very well. And then just starting our advent from always depending on something else and actually producing what we have, and just seeing how that will grow, because I feel like personally that we have what it takes to do that, and we have more than what it takes, and we just need to create that space. Also, excuse me. Let me see here. So yeah, so because of that, that's why we're going to take a few weeks off, if not a month, and or on. I was laughing because it even sounded like to me when I was saying it earlier, I'm gonna take a few weeks off, and it was like, but yeah, but that's to work on some other stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, you're right. But we do need to focus some time and attention so that way we can continuously polish what we're doing. And then also for those that are interested in ambassador training, Ennealogy, still been on the fence, also know that these actionables that we're talking about, these basically imply us being able to communicate with you on a daily basis about your path, what will assist you, what you need to be concerned about, maybe during that time astronomically, if we have that data available, not provoking you into being worried about anything, but just really giving you a heads up about, what we've learned through a factual level. And we're always building in there. So yeah, I think that's my announcement. So just remember, Mindful Fest starts. Somebody will share some links in relation to it if they can. I think a moderator probably can drop a link if they haven't out already, and you can check it out. Okay, great. Thanks a lot. The Awakened Self Life. I love it. And so that's there. And then also those premieres coming. So stay tuned for those. You generally get a notification through YouTube. Just some powerful stuff that has still been on the reels that everybody hasn't seen. And I think it'd be a great time to release those. And then also, we're starting any of the actionables, but we need time to completely deploy that. So this is also why we're taking this time off. And we are working on launching Secret Energy TV as a place where we can all congregate. So, and then, of course, there's also new groups coming to ambassador training. So let's see. So now, without any further ado, we're going to start a giveaway today. I have one semester of the Innerversity. Actually, excuse me. I have 2 semesters of the Innerversity. Wow. Okay, y'all going in on these today. Okay, so that's semester 1 and 2. You will or 2. You will see that inside of the Innerversity. These are the courses that I've put together in order to give you a great level of broad spectrum knowledge about these matters, like figuring out how this all connects inside of you, your diet, how your energy centers work, what boosts them up, what tears them down, what to do in certain situations. Also the entities and the hierarchies, the symbols, all that's covered within the Innerversity semester 1 and 2. And so we're going to give away 2 semesters of that. It's about a $600 value. Each semester is roughly $300. Lots of value in there. Also, we're going to give away 2 golden intonations, and that's the tone that you hear before we start this conversation. As you feel, perfect harmonic ratios is super important, especially before bed, during meditations, and even just when you want to get things into alignment, quiet down the monkey mind, and dial into self. So in order to enter into today's giveaway, all you need to do is just make a comment inside the chat. I'll give a couple minutes for you to do that. So you can say anything. You can even type a period, and this will enter you into today's giveaway. I also wanted to say to all of the pillars that are out there and the moderators, thank you so much for holding the space, especially in today's conversation. These are powerful bills. Like, this was very condensed. It was synthesized, but it was condensed in a way where, it shouldn't take long for you to see this again, but I would recommend doing it, especially as I'm going through the pictures and just showing the structures. And also being able to move back into your space with your family and those that are around you, and even other racial groups and all these different divides that you may have, and just start coming to terms with, it's only hurting you. It's only locking you out. It's only decreasing the level of ability that you have to traverse all spaces. And as a true astral traveler, as a true time lord, you don't want to hit doors or gates that you can't unlock. And the easiest way to do that is to hold all the keys. That's helping as many of the children as possible come into their awareness of who they are, because each of them are from these different constellations. They all come out of a different bag. So man, what's your bag? This actually what we learned today brings a whole new level to, you carried a lot of baggage, ain't you? And I'm starting to see where these Prada purses and all this stuff comes from. So anyway, just assisting others and helping them, get through their bag, and also learning how to put things in the proper order. So that's given a little bit of time. Let me go ahead and look at it. Yep, we have a few people that have entered into today's giveaway, so I'm going to go ahead and start rolling that. Let me look over here in the chat and see what's happening. How long we've been going? Wow, we hit that 2-hour mark. I could have swore it was only an hour. And the computer is just, that's another thing. I had to take time off because I'm moving faster than I can file stuff away on the computer. So even though I'm trying to clean the desktop and stuff, but we got these huge videos and all this kind of stuff happening. And then there's also a lot of material that we need to put up. And so in all of that, that just means that I have to actually pay some time and some attention to making sure that all of what has to be managed within Secret Energy does get done. And even the people that we've delegated things to, that they get what they need to continue. But we have a lot of things coming. There's some new people that are working with us that are incredible. And they're able to create amazing things. And that stuff is going to be brought to you. And we always say we do that on a gold platter. Actually, we're on the gold platter today, meaning that we have true intentions and compassions to assist our brothers and sisters. So here we go. I'm going to roll this the first time, and this is going to be for an university, either semester 1 or semester 2, you choose. And now to redeem the university, all you have to do, or anything that you've won, is all you have to do is go to the website, secretenergy.com. That's where we're at, obviously. And you go down to the bottom right corner, and then you'll see that there is an intercom icon there. You click it, you'll most likely either get me or Sean, probably Sean, and you give us your information, your first and your last name and your email address, and then we'll be able to get you signed up into the university. And also, since Golden Intonation can be emailed to you, then we would get that to you pretty much right away whenever we get in to answering those messages, which may be Monday. So here we go. So the first one to win something today, I think somebody said the last week that my little button was laughs. And it was supposed to be applause. So we're rolling it, and let's see what we got. All right, Truth Love. And I will put that up on the screen here. I got 2 screens running, so you'll get a lot. Let me see here. Boom. Here we are. So that would be Truth Love today. Did Truth Love win last week? I don't know. Maybe everybody's Truth Love, or either that Truth Love has a lot of luck. And we're going to need to talk about that luck. But so, yeah, I don't know. I'm just joking. But anyway, Truth Love, you've definitely won the university this week. Thank you, Wholeness and Balance Vibrations, for your participation. You can redeem that, as I said, at the Secret Energy website. Also, I know moderators are probably making a side note of Truth Love Wholeness. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit this again. This will be for, again, the university. So this is semester 1, semester 2. And also, if you do win and you are already a member of the university, you could actually gift this to someone. Okay? And so I'm going to hit it again. Bada bing, bada boom. Fireworks in real life. That's what's up. Wholeness and Balance Vibrations, sis. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Secret Energy Podcast, episode 11. I trust that there was plenty of gems for you today, but it looks like you got something else, and that's a full ride to semester 1 or 2 of your choosing of the university. So thank you so much for your participation. We appreciate you. So that went to fireworks in real life. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this one more time, or actually 2 more times. This is for Golden Intonation. And here we go. Boom. All right. Akira. Love the name. Vizier. All right. I'm glad that my linguistics is on point. Thank you so much for taking an opportunity to expand into self and to be reflections of your brothers and sisters that you see here. You have another. Okay, excuse me. I thought it was something. Okay, so anyway, you've won a Golden Intonation, and we can deliver that to you ASAP. All you got to do is hit us up in the bottom of the chat, and then you'll be able to just ride into those perfect overtones and vibrations. And then also, if you have a Golden Intonation already, I'll go ahead and open that up for you to be able to gift this to also someone else. Myself in here real quick. 1 second, 1 second. All right, I'm somewhere in here. There I am. All right. Okay, so the last giveaway, here we are with it today. Go again. Let me roll it one more time. This is for another Golden Intonation. And that goes to Jarvis Lockhart, Wholeness and Balance Vibrations, brother. I see you with the seed. Definitely appreciating that you're here sharing and growing and connecting and bringing something that your whole family will be able to benefit from as we continue to grow closer together. So that is our final giveaway for today. I just definitely wanted to say to everyone, as always, let me just put this off the screen. As always, wow, just remember that everybody is you. Like, I think this whole journey that we've been on so far, it's been amazing. Even for me to even be the person that this information has been transmitted through, it's humbling. Like, I always set out in life to do something that was unique and different, and I just feel like personally that I've been able to accomplish that, at least in a few people's lives, of really giving them something that was special and that maybe they didn't see everywhere else. So, but we continue. There's a lot more coming. I just want to let everybody know that we're here for you, and we're just sending wholeness and balanced vibrations to everyone, and wishing that everyone will come into a greater level of awareness of themselves, be able to connect with their ancestors, be able to know who they are, know what their purpose is, you know, your higher truth, you know, what you need to really be doing and conducting in life, and how you can communicate with others, you know, having a strong identity within self and a confidence within self, being able to deal with the light side and the dark side alike, you know, the Jedi and the Sith Lord alike of self, you know, understanding the two twining serpents, the black and the white one, are just metaphors within themselves from our opposing forces, how we get them to work together so that we can spiral all the way to the top, and then we can reach that globe, right? Get into the center of self, be a master of self, a lord of existence, the lord of self as we call it, and then even be able to rise beyond that into infinity. And if for those who want to know what that taste is like, it's like anything that you could have ever thought was gone, that you lost or forgot you, it's all there. And I'm not just saying that because those words get put together very well. I'm saying that from experience. I have a trust and a truth that anything that's real, it'll be with me everywhere I go. So I'm leaving nothing behind as I move forward. Let's get to a tribe. Thank you so much for your time. I'll be speaking with you soon. Wholeness.